And it seems The Simpsons just can't wait for next season to deal with Donald Trump.
Who is the greatest prophet on the planet? Nostradamus, Baba Vanga, Edgar Cayce, or some modern one? Among the prophets that terrify humanity, there is one who is not a real person, just a fictional character, but also shocked the world with his speculations that became true. You know who I'm referring to? That is The Simpsons, an American animated series that shocked the world with its speculations, and many of them have come true. There are many theories about The Simpsons' predictions. A few people say this is purely a coincidence. Others believe that there is a divine prophet behind this series, or that the director or screenwriter of The Simpsons is the real prophet. But there is also a view that, in fact, the government is the one behind The Simpsons. The government already knows all about what will happen and is using The Simpsons to reveal it to the public. Let's take a look at 15 times The Simpsons made a prediction and it suspiciously came true. Apple Vision Pro. A 2016 episode foretelling events in February 2024. Since the launch of Apple Vision Pro in February 2, users have been posting videos and pictures to social media of them testing out the $3,500 headset. This all seemingly mirrors a 2016 episode titled Friends and Family, in which the Simpsons family tested out a virtual headset created by Mr. Burns. Eventually, all the characters in Springfield gain access to the technology. A montage shows Homer and Marge lying in bed virtually kissing each other, Principal Skinner having a virtual picnic, and bartender Moe walking into a lamppost. This montage is eerily similar to some of the posted videos, especially a clip, which shows a man wearing the headset and crossing the road in California, holding his hands up and apparently touching digital objects. The company said that the Vision Pro will allow users to immerse themselves in the company's Vision OS operating system, supporting spatial FaceTime video, photos, and apps. The device is controlled using eye and hand movements, as well as voice commands. As previously stated, this is not the first example of the show's art-anticipating life precognitive powers. Needless to say, fans of The Simpsons deemed this their most prescient prognostication yet. It led some to suspect the writing team of having some sort of time-traveling technology. Autocorrect. Current mobile device users are very familiar with the autocorrect feature, but if we go back 20 years ago, it will be a different story. On November 13, 1994, an episode of The Simpsons, entitled Lisa on Ice, aired on the Fox television network that featured a visual gag of text on a mobile device's screen changing from Beat Up Martin to Eat Up Martha. This led many to claim that The Simpsons had predicted autocorrect. It would be pretty amazing if The Simpsons truly predicted the invention of autocorrect. However, that didn't happen. When Lisa on Ice first aired in November 1994, autocorrect was already a feature available in Microsoft Word. According to the New York Times, Microsoft was advertising the feature as early as October 1993, more than a year before Lisa on Ice aired. So, instead of saying The Simpsons invented this feature, it would be more accurate to say that The Simpsons predicted the explosion of this feature among users. Another perspective. While autocorrect existed prior to this episode of The Simpsons, the joke in Lisa on Ice is actually commenting on another technological innovation: handwriting recognition. In fact, school bully Kearney specifically mentions the Newton tablet in the clip from Lisa on Ice used to further this prediction claim. The Simpsons didn't predict autocorrect. However, this joke did have an impact on the autocorrect feature that would eventually find its way onto the first iPhone. Lady Gaga and the Super Bowl. One of the Simpsons Super Bowl episodes included an infamous prediction of a musical artist's performance, which would not so surprisingly come to pass. In the 2012 episode, Lisa Goes Gaga, Lady Gaga visits Springfield and performs her songs while flying over an audience, and at one point, played the piano during her concert. The episode may have been critically panned, but fans were at least interested in the prediction it contained. In 2017, Gaga performed at the Super Bowl LI halftime show, performing her greatest hits, including Poker Face and Bad Romance. During her halftime show performance, Gaga was lifted above the audience, mirroring the Simpsons episode. Later in the show, she also played Million Reasons on the piano. Donald Trump. The episode Bart to the Future premiered in 2000, where Bart Simpson saw his and his sister's future. The leader of the country was Lisa Simpson. Lisa mentioned that the United States was tasked with fixing the economy after former Donald Trump's presidency. Not only was Trump elected president in 2016, but one scene from the show looked as if it was almost replicated in real life. In the same episode, a crowd of people watched as Donald Trump descended an escalator. It's a scene that's now among the Simpsons predictions that came true. In reality, President Trump also descended the escalator with First Lady Melania Trump, while a group of supporters watched in the background. But the predictions related to Trump don't stop there. In 2022, Donald Trump, the former president of the United States, lost his bid for a second term. But this powerful man decided it was time to reclaim the throne he lost. In 2021, he returned to the White House race in 2024. In his usual grandiose fashion, Trump took to the stage and proclaimed his ambition with his iconic words, "In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States. But just as I promised, I am your voice." Interestingly, in a 2015 episode titled Bart to the Future, Homer Simpson is depicted flying past a sign in the background that reads, "Trump 2024. Interestingly, the episode came way before Trump had even become president. This revelation has been driving everyone crazy online. But as crazy as this prediction is, this next one takes it to another level. Voting machine. The opening to Season 20's Treehouse of Horror Night 9 is a bit surprising because it doesn't feature anything horror-related at first. The sequence takes place on Election Day 2008 when Barack Obama went up against John McCain for President of the United States. Homer Simpson arrives at his official polling place and marvels at the high-tech for its time digital voting machine. He places a vote for Obama, but the machine counts it for McCain instead. Frustrated, Homer selects Obama again, but the device changes his vote to McCain once more. Homer keeps trying until the machine becomes sentient and sucks him inside. Then it spits out Homer's dead body, which a clueless Jasper adorns with an "I voted" sticker. While there haven't been any reports about voting machines eating voters, a very similar incident occurred during the 2012 presidential election. According to the report, an electronic voting machine kept changing a person's vote from Obama to Mitt Romney. The voter even recorded video of the glitch, but it was removed from service, recalibrated, and put back in use. The Nightmare of America. Another prediction that is somewhat debated is the 2001 Nightmare of America. An advertisement poster in the show, background of one of the episodes, showed a special discount for travel to New York with rooms costing $9. Do you see any coincidences? Number 9, and that fateful place. Why not $5 or $10? And the Twins Tower looks like number 11. Is it a mystery of coincidence? The alleged evidence was a scene from The Simpsons TV show Episode 3 of Season 9, The City of New York vs. Homer Simpson, aired in 1997. The footage was widely shared on social media platforms, with many users expressing shock and disbelief at the alleged prediction. Smartwatches. On March 19, 1995, an episode of The Simpsons entitled Lisa's Wedding took a futuristic view of Springfield's favorite family after Homer's daughter visited a fortune teller's booth. At one point in the episode, Lisa's future husband bent over and spoke into a strange-looking device on his wrist, a half-flip phone, half-wristwatch that most modern viewers would liken to a smartwatch. This is a genuine clip from a 1995 episode of The Simpsons. It is also true that this episode aired more than 20 years before the year of the smartwatch, when these devices became relatively common. However, The Simpsons shouldn't get credit for predicting the smartwatch for two reasons. The first reason, while the year of the smartwatch was 2014 in name, the very first smartwatches were created before this episode of The Simpsons aired. The second one, variations of smartwatches have been appearing in movies, television shows, and comic books since the 1950s. It's difficult to pinpoint exactly when the first smartwatch was produced because it depends on the criteria you use to classify one. The first digital watches were produced in the 1970s. In 1983, the Seiko Data 2000 featured a built-in keyboard for data input. A few years later, Sinclair made a watch with an FM radio, and in 1994, Seiko unveiled a watch that doubled as a pager. The Timex Data Link, which was also introduced in 1994, is a good contender for the first modern smartwatch because it had the ability to transfer data by linking to a computer. The point is that the road to the modern smartwatch has been a long and winding one that predated this episode of The Simpsons. Perhaps similar to the autocorrect feature that The Simpsons mentioned. It's possible that this movie is not where autocorrect or smartwatches were invented, but it is just talking about the future when these two things appear almost everywhere in humanity. Something that was very difficult 20 years ago happen. Disney acquires 20th Century Fox. In 1998, in the episode When You Wish Upon a Star, Homer met Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger and decided to work for them. Homer suggested an idea for a movie during his phone call to 20th Century Fox executives. The next scene of the episode showed that 20th Century Fox was now owned by Walt Disney. The scene is now among the infamous things The Simpsons predicted, as in March 2019, Walt Disney announced a $71 billion merger with 21st Century Fox. In 2021, Disney and Fox settled on the streaming rights in terms of the films that Disney would own. Disney get Fox's TV and film studios, its cable TV networks, FX and National Geographic, and its stake in Hulu, which gives the Mouse House a controlling stake in the streaming service. The deal will transfer the ownership of a number of popular films, television series, and character rights to Disney. Among those properties is the most beloved animated series of all time, The Simpsons. Submersible disaster. In June 2023, a real-life submersible carrying 5 passengers toward the sunken Titanic unfortunately imploded. The expedition to see the wreck dominated conversations around the world. At this moment, a video showing The Simpsons may have predicted the real-life event is going viral on social media. The theory started gaining traction after a Simpsons fan posted a video on X, pointing out the unexpected connection between the show and the submersible called Titan. The submersible disappeared with 5 people on board. The submersible, operated by OceanGate, was taking tourists to see the wreckage of the Titanic, the biggest ship of its time that sank in 1912. A similar thing happened in the 17th season of The Simpsons cartoon, which aired in 2006. In the 10th episode of that season, titled Simpsons Tids, Homer goes on an expedition along with a man who he believes to be his biological father. The man takes Homer Simpson out on his ship and reveals to him that there is a lost treasure of a sunken ship called Piso Mojado. Homer and his biological father decide to explore the depth of the ocean in submersibles. However, during their excursions, Homer's submersible gets stuck in a coral cave. He begins to lose consciousness as oxygen levels fall in his vessel. But he is shown waking up in a hospital 3 days later. Though it is not really the exact prediction of where the Titan submersible is or the oxygen level inside it, some social media users find the storyline is close enough to real life. COVID-19 pandemic. No person in the world has been directly or indirectly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. It is one of history's most defining periods where billions went under lockdown and millions lost their lives to a virus whose origin remains unclear. The Simpsons were far ahead in their predictions when they aired this episode where a foreign origin flu spreads like wildfire among residents of Springfield. During the episode, it is seen that a shipment of products from Japan causes what is termed in the show as the Osaka Flu. Doctors tell the residents to get bed rest, as there is no immediate treatment available. The flu isn't the focus of the episode, though, which is about Marge, who is forced to serve prison time on mistaken charges of shoplifting. Years later, many fans saw how similar the flu depicted in the episode was to the COVID-19 virus. They found a connection to the flu's origin country, its rapid spread, and the fact that patients could not be inoculated against it because the vaccine hadn't been developed yet as prescient. But in March 2020, the co-writer of the episode, Bill Oakley, slammed those connecting the pandemic to Asia and revealed that the flu in the episode was inspired by the Hong Kong flu of 1968. I believe the most antecedent to the Osaka flu was the Hong Kong flu of 1968. It was just supposed to be a quick joke about how the flu got here. Ebola. People claim the world-famous TV series predicted the Ebola Crisis back in a 1997 episode in which Marge tries to coax a sick Bart out of bed as proof. She suggests he reads a book before producing one entitled Curious George and the Ebola Virus. She then asks if he would like to color something, to which he replies, "I already did," and points to an apocalyptic drawing of a dead Bart surrounded by blood and bodies with the sun and clouds appearing to cry. Is there something people are not being told? Is it by perchance and coincidence that the Simpsons would do predictive programming? The episode where the Ebola book appeared was called Lisa's Sacks and first aired on October 19, 1997. Despite the apparent chilling prediction from The Simpsons, Ebola was already well known as a havoc-wreaking, deadly virus in the late 1990s. Ebola was discovered in 1976 following major outbreaks that year in the Sudan and Zaire. In the 1990s, the disease saw a resurgence with an outbreak in Gabon in 1994, followed by another in Zaire in 1995. It could be said that other than the Ebola crisis a few years ago, the worst in recorded history, The Simpsons episode predicted the outbreak 3 years after the show aired. NSA spying on citizens. One of the major news stories of 2013 revolved around Edward Snowden's leaking of information related to the U.S. government. The breaking story shook Americans to the core, with many feeling as though the government and the NSA had committed an egregious breach of their privacy that was to many unthinkable. However, an eerily similar scenario was depicted in the Simpsons movie in 2007. In a scene that now has an air of ominous dread about it, the Simpsons board a train while on the run from the Environmental Protection Agency. As Lisa frets about them being so outspoken about their efforts to warn the world about what is happening in Springfield, Marge says, "Oh, Lisa, it's not like the government is listening to everybody's conversation," before the scene cuts to the NSA, listening to everybody's conversations. It is one of the most uncanny predictions The Simpsons has ever made. Nobel Prize. In 2010, X years ago on The Simpsons, Milhouse Van Houten predicted that Bengt Holmstrom of MIT would win the Nobel Prize for Economics in 2016. And that prediction totally came true. Holmstrom and Oliver Hart of Harvard were announced as joint winners of the 2016 Nobel Prize in Economics for their pioneering work on contract theory and government versus private ownership. It's a fairly bookish topic for the beloved Fox series, but it made sense in the context of Krusty the Clown being scammed into thinking he won the Nobel Peace Prize, and Milhouse proving himself to be a clairvoyant with uncanny knowledge of Nobel Prize winners. He was so eerily accurate that he even bested Lisa Simpson in the contest. Putting horsemeat in the food. In the episode titled Sweet Seymour Skinner's Badass Song, lunch lady Doris of Springfield Elementary is seen serving horsemeat to school kids for lunch from a drum labeled assorted horse parts. In real life, however, a major scandal broke out in the UK in 2013 when it was found that beef products contained horsemeat. Dubbed the Horsemeat Scandal by The Guardian, it began when the Food Safety Authority, FSA of Ireland, began testing cheap frozen beef burgers from supermarkets in November 2012. Their findings revealed that horse DNA was present in more than a third of the samples, while pig was present in 85%. Soon after, the UK FSA ordered a test of beef products. It was found that there was a 100% presence of horse meat in some beef products made for companies such as Tesco, Aldi, and French manufacturer Comigle's Findus brand. This triggered a Europe-wide analysis. Ireland, the UK, and other European countries, such as Switzerland, Sweden, Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands, withdrew meals that contained horse meat. This wasn't the only prediction involving lunch lady Doris. Her lack of cooking skills led her to use gym mats as a meat substitute in another episode. Years later, fans connected it to the 2014 scandal involving Subway, in which a food blogger revealed that it used a chemical called azotic carbonamide in its bread. Though approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, as a dough conditioner and bleaching agent, the chemical is also used to make yoga mats. Following the controversy, Subway stopped using the chemical. Space travel for the common people. In the episode titled Deep Space Homer, fans of The Simpsons hail its guest stars, astronaut Buzz Aldrin and musician James Taylor. In it, NASA decides to send an average Joe to space to boost its ratings. They select Homer, and he becomes the first ordinary human to go to space. Today, the idea of anyone in the world jetting off to space has become more commonplace and achievable. At its core are civilian programs that fulfill the spaceflight dreams of paying customers, thereby boosting what has come to be known as space tourism. The first space tourist was American aerospace engineer and financial analyst Dennis Tito, who paid Russia USD 20 million to fly aboard a Soyuz spacecraft to the International Space Station in 2001 at the age of 60. Several other civilians have flown to space since. Exactly 20 years after Tito's flight, Elon Musk-owned private space agency SpaceX successfully sent the world's first all-civilian mission to space. Also related to the universe, in Season 27, Episode 16, The Marge-Ian Chronicles, Marge and Lisa volunteer themselves to be among the first humans to fly to and live on Mars. This is done with Exploration Inc., the private firm that hopes to send people to colonize Mars by 2026. And as the episode ends, Marge and Lisa live on Mars together in 2050. In the real world, Elon Musk's SpaceX has a goal to go to Mars, and it had previously been planned that we could already achieve it by now, though this hasn't happened yet. In addition, Musk also wants to colonize Mars. It still continues. In addition to the above 15 predictions that have come true, The Simpsons also has many other predictions that have also been verified. In 1995, in the heartwarming Simpsons episode Lisa's Wedding, Lisa went to a fortune teller who predicted Lisa's future in 2010. Lisa's future consisted of her marrying her college sweetheart. Excited to share the news, she called her mom. The phone that Lisa dialed included a real-time screen showing Marge's face attached to a rotary dial. While Skype was invented in 2003, it served primarily as the calling service used on computers. In 2010, Apple announced that it developed FaceTime for Apple users. The app allowed users to not only talk, but see the person that they were talking to through the phone's camera. Or the Season 3 episode Homer at the Bat showcases one of The Simpsons' weirdest predictions to date, despite the episode airing way back in 1992. The episode follows Homer and his softball team as they start to believe that they're lucky because of a particular bat. This enrages a jealous Mr. Buns, who hires MLB players to make sure Homer's team loses. One of these players is sports star Don Mattingly, who is benched for what Mr. Burns insists are unruly sideburns. A year later, during an actual game in 1993, Yankees manager Stump Merrill points out that Mattingly did not cut his hair for the game, which leads to the player getting benched. It's the exact absurd situation that played out in real life, with such a close proximity to the Simpsons episode and Mattingly's one-time appearance in it that made it impossible to ignore. We also mentioned the episode Boy Meets Curl in 2010, which premiered where Homer and Marge arrived at the skating arena only to see that it was closed to those practicing curling. They tried their hand at curling and eventually joined the U.S. curling mixed doubles team during the Winter Olympics. During the episode, the U.S. team won a gold medal and defeated Sweden. In 2018, the U.S. Olympic curling team, led by Josh Schuster, won their first gold medal for curling. The U.S. team also beat Sweden in the 2018 Olympics with a score of 10-7. The clear prediction is one of The Simpsons' best bets about sports, with many fans immediately pointing out the parallel. And there are many other predictions that we cannot mention here. As you can see, The Simpsons really predicts world events, or is the world just following The Simpsons script still a huge question for the world? Created by cartoonist Matt Groening, The Simpsons began as a cartoon short in 1987. Its first proper episode was aired as a Christmas special on 17th of December 1989. Today, it is the longest-running animated television series and the longest-running scripted primetime TV show in American history. The show is essentially about a dysfunctional Simpsons family that lives in the fictional city of Springfield. Homer is the protagonist of the show. He is married to Marge and has 3 children: Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. To date, the show has aired 750 episodes spread across 34 seasons. Throughout its run, it has presented situations, events, or objects that were seemingly fun and sometimes implausible at the time, but eventually became a reality. Indeed, diligent fans are able to find a connection to a real-life event to something that may have been depicted already on the show. Since several events have come true, The Simpsons has built a reputation for itself as a show that can peek into the future of our society and the larger world. Of course, not all its predictions have come true. But as time marches on and advancements in sciences indicate, several of their predictions will likely come true in the future. Chief of them is the colonization of Mars and the global rise of artificial intelligence. The above predictions are predictions that have come true for The Simpsons. In the future, which prediction in this famous series will continue to come true? Let's watch it together.